Tractate Bava Batra, page 95. Here we are from Long Island, New York, recording the Daf Yomi. We are 16 lines from the top of page 95. The subject of selling a product which involved with a unclear statement or lucid or not a very ambiguous understanding between the seller and buyer is the key subject of today's discussion, of today's shi'ur. Since things were not clear, it can be a serious issue of compensation or getting back. For example, buying a wine. Obviously we know that when it's come to wine, it's a huge difference between buying a bottle of wine in the regular commercial manner versus going to a real wine cellar, commercial, meaning a manufacturer or a place that they bringing the original and it's in their old barrels of wine, or if it's in a private home, private domain. The problem is that sometimes the wine turned to be a little sour or much different. Sometimes the smell is not great, but the taste is still okay. So obviously there is a different price when things are like that. How exactly we say that the seller cannot run away and needs to return the entire sum, or he is totally exempt from any compensation. Another phase of that discussion is the different use of the purchaser. If the buyer needs it, for example, just to make a better taste, it's called letavlin, or he needs it letavshil, to cook or to drink, is a different mindset, because the length of time that the wines need to stay out, it's different, and obviously it affects the price. Times are now, we're also going to discuss the blessing of the wine and the reason for that blessing. So as we said, we are on page 95, 16 lines from the top of the page. Martef shel yain. So here, first and foremost, we need to understand the concept of koses or kosesot, meaning in our language is like someone who's getting sick. So in a sense of produce of wine, it's in the breach of getting sour. So here they talk about one purchase, a cellar containing a barrel of wine. So the purchaser accept upon himself that up to 10 barrels of souring wine may be present each 100 barrel purchase. That's the general statement of the Mishnah, which is the assumption that about 10% loss or 10% of different quality of product is a common understanding. Hey Chedami. So the Gemara asks, what exactly involved here? Since the Rashbam said we do not have a clear statement at the time of the sale, and it's a lot of ambiguity between the seller and the buyer, we need to know what exactly involved here. Ide amar lei martef shel yain stam. If the buyer said, look, the sell here, I'm selling to your wine cellar without specification of which seller it meant. So, Kashya, Id amar le martef ze shel yain, the word ze is legareah, which is to make it inferior. Kashya, Ida amar le martef ze, if he said, I'm selling you just this wine cellar, so that's he just mentioned the seller, doesn't mention the word wine. Martef ze, kashya, the Tanya. Martef shel yain ani mocher lach. Someone said to the other, I'm selling you a cellar of wine. Now the thing is noten lo Yain shekulo yafeh. This is what he darash, this is what he requested, so he needs to give him a quality wine. He cannot give him any sour one, because, as we said, if it's a certain percentage, we said, the Rashbam explained, it's okay. The Ritva elaborated and said it's still under the category of wine if it still have the taste. But מרתף זה של יין אני מוכר לך, מרתף זה אני מוכר לך, without mentioning the word wine, אפילו כולו חומץ הגיעו, even if it's everything that he gives him is wine that had turned into a vinegar. So it has come to the buyer and the sale is valid. So here you see the real difference between buying a wine from the seller or buying a wine for commercial or store. Obviously, the time in between, you're taking the wine, the field to the barrel of wine, you keep it for several years, and then you put it in the bottles and put it in the store. It's an issue of transportation, excuse me, quality. It's an issue of certain temperature. So therefore, it's all changed and can create the different quality of the wine. So the Gemara said, "Olam de amar le martef shel yain stam." Here we talk about, it said to the buyer, "I'm selling you a wine cellar without specification of which seller he was selling." Utnei bereisha de braita umekabel alav 10 kosesot ל100. So the idea is the Rashbam, the Ritva, the Ran, that said that it's always, the mindset is always the assumption that some of that it's sour, some of them it's not the greatest. So the Gemara said, Bestam, if the buyers, he sold the buyer a wine cellar without specification, mi mekabel. So does the buyer accept upon himself any souring of wine? Where is written that he needs to take 10 kosesot ל100, 10 souring for 100? תענה רבי חייא, המוכר יין, המוכר חבית יין לחברו. If one sells a barrel of wine to his fellow, נותן לו יין שכולו יפה, which means he needs to give him a good, high quality wine. The assumption is, as we see, that he used it for drinking or use it for reselling. People, you see it in Mefarshim here, even to Sfot, that people don't buy something if they know that part of that is about to, or it's a koses, it's about to reduce its quality. Even chavit bodedet, even one barrel, it has to be yain shekulo yafeh. So the Gemara responded and said, you know what? Shanei chavit dechula chad chamrahu. It says that the wine inside is all one body of wine of the same quality. So, as the Rashbam explained, you have to differentiate between selling one barrel versus many. When you're selling more than one, is the assumption of the buyer that needs to know that some of them will be sour. V'ha, so the Gemara challenged a stira, a question from different braita. Ve'atane Rav Zvid devei Rabbi Yoshaya, martef shel yain ani mocher lach. I'm selling to you a wine cellar. Then he's required to do what? מרתף זה של יין אני מוכר לך, נותן לו יין שכולו יפה, מקבל עליו 10 כוססות ל100. So he needs to give him a good high quality wine, and the buyer accepts upon himself 10 souring barrel per 100 barrels. Page 95b reminds me just some funny point that the great Rabbi Beryl Wine sometimes used this Gemara to joke upon himself. You know, one of the best things that happen in the entertainment business or comedian, they are capable, they are so great, they are capable to laugh at themselves too. Anyway, 95b, וזהו אוצר ששנו חכמים במשנתנו. That's the storeroom, which is the cellar that the sages tells us in the Mishnah. So the Gemara said, Elan matniti nami amar lei ze, because the Mishnah also, the one said to the buyer, I'm selling you this particular seller, and because he specified the particular seller, the buyer accept upon himself the possibility that up to 10 barrels per 100 might be sour. So said, the Gemara said, Kashya ze azeh. So basically it's difficult from the first Braita that said that they go specifically the Rav Zvid Braita that he needs to give him a good quality wine, excluding the 10 kosesot of 100. So the Gemara said, Lo kashya, it's not a question, not difficult. Ha amar le lemikpa, lo amar le lemikpa. Here he said that I'm needed for tavshil, for cooking, the other one is not. Rav Zvid amar le lemikpa, Braita lo amar le lemikpa, so that's the difference. Rav Zvid hold that 10 kosesot lemea and not more, that's lemikpa. For cooking, and the Braita is not, but does not require for its cooking. So therefore the purchaser can take yain kulo koses hilkach, and therefore the halacha hi martef shel yain v'amar lo, the buyer said to the seller lemikpa, which means he needs it for a long time, he needs it for tavshil, he needs it for tavlin, he needs it for cooking, he needs it for spicing in the product. Noten lo yain shekulo yafe, he obligated to give him a high quality good wine. מרתף זה של יין ואמר לו למקפא, נותן לו יין שכולו יפה, מקבל עליו 10 כוסות ל-100, we said 10 for 100. מרתף זה של יין ולא ידוע אם אמר לו למקפא, נותן לו יין למכר בחנות, which is יין גרוע, it's יין כוסס. According to Rashbam, he needs to give 90% good. Number one, in those days they didn't used to put chometz betavshil. You didn't used to put a vinegar in the product because it was mainly the tibul. Second, the whole question of the mikpah. But he said, the according to Rashbam, that's the sikum of the Gemara. According to the Ritva, that's sikum of Rav Haigaon, and is the Tosefet of the Geonim to the Gemara, which is the two school of thought of this conclusion. Ibayalu. Martef shel yain, if the seller said to the buyer, I'm selling you a seller, wine seller, velo amar lo lemikpa mai, but he didn't specify that the wine is for cooking. So you need to, the buyer basically needs it for long term. He needed for the cooking, the tavshil, le ma'achal, tavlin. So therefore, he needs wine that stands for a long time. Plige barabachad ravina, אחד אמר מקבל ואחד אמר לא מקבל. One said that he gets 10 for 100, the other one not. מה אמר מקבל, which is the 10% כוסס, דייק מדרב זביד. דקטני מרתף של יין אני מוכר לך, נותן לו יין שכולו יפה. והוא קימנה, זה אמר לי למקפא. What he said that the wine is cooking. So even so, the buyer need not accept any barrel of souring wine. Tama, the reason for that is the amarle, that he said למקפא. He said that it's for cooking. אבל לא אמר למקפא, מקבל. The second view, ולמאן דדייק מדרב זביד, מאן דאמר לו מקבל דייק מברייתא דקטני, מרתף של יין מוכר לך, נותן לו יין שכולו יפה, והוא כמעט לא אמר למקפא. ולמאן דדייק מדרב זביד, כאשר ברייתא. Because he said, נותן לו, give him יין שכולו יפה. So they said, חסור מחסרה ואחי קטן, it's a missing part. And that's the way we should learn. באמת דברים אומרים דאמר למקפא, that he said that my purpose of purchasing it is for cooking. לא אמר לי למקפא, מקבל. מרתף זה של יין והוא אמר למקפא, נותן לו יין למכר בחנות. So he give him the wine that was in his possession, even if it's of a quality that is sold in the shop, which is, it start, have the sour. As we said at the beginning, it can have the bad smell, the taste is still okay, but it's getting there soon. ולמאן דדייק מברייתא קשיא דרב זביד, דאו קימנא דאמר לי למקפא. הלו אמר לי למקפא, מקבל. If he didn't say, I need it for cooking, then the buyer must accept 10 barrels of souring wine per 100. And הוא הדין דאף על גב דלא אמר למקפא, לא מקבל והוא כינא דאמר למקפא, משום דקשיא זה הזה. So what you see here, because it's difficult, if he said to him, I need it for cooking, since it not only due to the difficulty of the contradiction between the ruling of the first and the second Braita, so the whole Braita was interpreted as referring to a case where the buyer said, I need the wine for cooking, despite the fact that in the case he did not mention a specific seller. It might be no different where or not he said so. So in Mitzvah Shem, later, if not then tomorrow morning, we're going to continue with halachot of the brachot. Obviously we need to we need to make a blessing all the time, but what type of bracha you give for not a regular wine that we said bar paragafen, but yain that is koses, yain that is in a breach of being sour, and also different type of wine. What type of bracha, and Mitzvah Shem, we'll deal with that tomorrow.